Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to introduce into the record a letter to myself from the Superintendent of West Point, Lieutenant General Williams, that was sent to me in response to my letter regarding the teaching of critical race theory at West Point.
Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Secretary, I found that very interesting, your exchange with Mr. Gates on no teachings of critical race theory in the United States military. I want to quote to you a letter I received from the Superintendent of West Point. It says, with regards to critical race theory, there is one course that has this theory as part of the syllabus. There are 2 lessons on critical race theory. There is a book on critical race theory titled Critical Race Theory and Introduction. On and on and on about the teaching of critical race theory in West Point. I just want to emphasize something. This isn't something that we're raising. This came to me from cadets, from families, from soldiers, with their alarm and their concern at how divisive this type of teaching is that is rooted in Marxism, that classifies people along class lines, an entire race of people as oppressor and oppressed. I cannot think of anything more divisive and more destructive to unit morale. I want to be very clear. The military needs to be open to all Americans. Absolutely. That is the strength of the United States military. But once we're in, we bleed green and our skin color is camouflage. We're worried about that American flag on our shoulder. That's the only thing our enemies are worried about. I think we can agree there. But the other thing that they raised to me was a seminar that over 100 cadets attended titled Understanding Whiteness and White Rage, taught by a woman who described the Republican Party platform as a platform of white supremacy. This is going on at West Point as we speak to our future military leaders. And sir, I would encourage you, I would demand that you get to the bottom of what is going on in the force, and further, for what it means for civilian oversight of the military when our future military leaders are being taught that the Constitution and the fundamental civilian institutions of this country are endemically racist, misogynist, and colonialist, and therefore it is their duty to resist them. What does that mean for a future cadet who one day will be sitting where you are? And so do you agree that, will you work with us do you agree that critical race theory should or should not be taught in our military academies?
As I said earlier, thanks, Congressman, for the question, and thanks for your continued support. Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
This is not something that the United States military is embracing and pushing and causing people to subscribe to. Now, whether or not this was some sort of critical examination of different theories, I don't know. But
we need to understand our past. I want to be very clear. But can you agree at least that understanding whiteness and white rage presented in ICAL over 100 cadets probably is something that we shouldn't be teaching our future leaders of the United States Army?
As you have described it, it certainly sounds like that's something that should not occur. Again, I would like to know the specifics of the...
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Just switching topics to shipyards and our infrastructure. Our shipyards are old, they're small, they can't handle the fleet of today, much less the fleet of tomorrow. We currently have 4 public and less than 20 commercial. The Chinese are approaching 1,000 shipyards. 1 dry dock that can handle the Ford class, not enough for the Virginia class. The Navy has its $21 billion investment plan, but it's over 20 years. Over the next 2 decades, would you welcome additional funding as part of our shipyard modernization? I think it's absolutely critical.
I agree that it's critical, and we not only have to have the right mix of capabilities, we have to be able to sustain and maintain as well. And in this budget, you'll see that we've invested some $830 million in recapitalizing.
I think that is woefully. Chinese are at 1,000. We're at less than 20. And what I'm so disturbed by is we're debating a $1.9 trillion infrastructure plan. The Navy has its shipyard infrastructure improvement plan, so they clearly define shipyards as infrastructure. No mention, not one. Were you consulted by the interagency group that submitted the infrastructure plan to whether it is grids, ports, and especially shipyards? Was the Defense Department consulted for its priorities as part of the administration's plan?
Well, certainly I support the administration's plan, and
So that will have to be taken for the record. The gentleman's time has expired.